this training, we're going to be going over the course request, and but primarily the professional development cycle begins with the course request. Participants register, instructors print or facilitators print out the sign-in sheet, attendance is verified, the course is evaluated by the participants, and then credit is awarded through the posting of credits. So that's the overall cycle of professional development. The course request is the basis of the system. And all of the majority of support issues are usually directly related to the course request. So it's important to have a good understanding of all the required fields and what impact they may have. So one of the things that I always like to point out is that anytime you see these empty white boxes, that is an area where you can filter information. You can filter to the course IDs. You can start typing in a title. You can filter to locations, start date, end date, course status, instructors, and the course type. The single session is a 0 for the request type. That is what the RT stands for. And then the other features on this specific page are copying a course, and the wait column, you now see an icon that shows whether you have a wait list, and the key is then to determine who's on the wait list. You would go to reports and pull a wait list report. Then you can, the last column with the PDF icon, you can click on that and it'll open up a report showing all of your registered users. The other PDF icon is for the course info, which, as all of you know, is the a summary of the course information that has been entered into the course request. And I should have moved my slideshow ahead. I guess I didn't cover, you use the little plus sign to add a new course request. Then there's the little exclamation point, which will give you detailed help. And then the pencil is for editing. And I've got ahead of myself. The course information or the course detail report summary, and it complies with OSPI requirements in the WAC. And you'll see that it has the course ID, the title, the category that it's placed in, the course description, course objectives, start date, end date, location. There's even a clickable map link, and when we set up your locations, we enter a link to Google Maps. Then it will indicate whether it's STEM or a T, if there's additional registration requirements. If so, there would be that additional registration link. Then it summarizes the sessions, the credit type, and the most recent is the bio that is entered by all of your instructors, and that is the latest requirement that OSPI has now required of clock hour providers.
We're all going to go out to.
Oops, I'm sorry. The registered student by course, that's the other report that you can open, is it will give you a listing of those registered for the course by session. And I already covered filtering. I'm sorry, I apologize. I didn't create this, and so I got ahead myself. but this is the course request. I already talked about filtering, and so if there's any questions as I move along in this webinar, please stop me and ask. So in the course request, there are a total of 8 screens to complete. However, if you don't process payments for a course, then you only have 7 to complete. There are system defaults that can hide items on a page depending upon what each client requires, and so you may not always see all of the fields that we talk about. You can always request a review of your defaults. Some districts have a special text area for agendas. Some don't. Some have more objectives listed. The basic number is 3, but we have some districts who require up to 5 objectives. So, and again, I keep getting ahead of myself. There's the course description, agenda, and objectives, and when you're filling this out or when you're training your instructors, you should have those items ready prior to starting the process. What can happen if you don't have all of that information ready, there is basically around a 30-minute period where if you haven't saved your work and filled out the minimum required fields, the system will time out on you and you'll have to do all of that work again. And so the key is to entering all of the required fields first and pushing that continue button, and then you can go back and refine page 1 basically. And then there's always the blue icon on the bottom for helper information. So the required fields are the request type, and when you create the course request, you'll make that choice. If you're copying from a previous course that's been offered, it's important to copy the same request type. It's a single track you want, and you want to change it to a multiple session, it's best to copy a multiple session, and vice versa. The next required field is the category type, the school year, the course title. We do have the alternative course title for those who wish to make the shorter titles for when they upload into Skyward, because Skyward only allows 30 spaces, and depending upon how you have your course titles, you can end up with kind of gobbledygook up in Skyward if you're using long titles and don't use this alt course title option. The course requirements, course description, those are all required fields. And so if they can enter that information within the 30 minutes, it'll be smooth sailing for them. Then again, course start date, end date, registration closing date, the authorizing admin, course requester, lead instructor, and your course objectives. So as bottom of the page, some of the things that you want to look at are these various criterias that are new. There's, well, STEM, if you check on that, there's another box to fill out, again with TPEP, and what's new is going to be the new PARA standards, and those are in the newest release coming through, and I don't believe all of the sites have been updated yet, but they will be within the next week. Then you would click Continue, and that takes you to your criteria. Reports can be generated as a result of criteria. Participants can search on the home page when they're looking for different types of courses based upon criteria. So each item that is chosen in the drop-down box relates to reports that can ultimately be generated, as well as the search feature for finding courses on the course registration page. And you have more than one in these, but there is a requirement for a minimum of the 4, and your district may have a requirement of more than 4. But you simply click into the drop-down and choose what you want. If you make a mistake, you would go into the box and click on it, and it'll disappear. Report criteria, we have some districts that if they're offering a course related to Title I funding or any other type of funding, they use it in that report criteria section. Are there any questions? Please feel free, if you're muted, to unmute yourself and ask questions. Okay, tab C relates to limits, and you can have no limits, in which case there will be a registration button showing for everyone who goes to the course registration page. You can limit by location. Say you have a PLC just for one site, and so you would can choose your location, and anyone who doesn't have that location not see the course registration button. The other limitation that you can choose is PD groups. We have some districts who utilize the PD group area, and so all of your school sites, all of your elementary teachers, you know, we can help you to set up those PD groups if you'd find that to be helpful. Tab 4 is about credits. Normally, we have many districts who just offer a single credit, and that is the clock hour credit, but you can offer various types of credits based upon whether you do training with your classified, and we have some districts who have even additional types of credits based upon their payroll structure. So when users register for a course, they have the ability to select from the various types of credits offered. However, if you're only offering one type of credit, we recommend that you use the auto-populate, and when they click to register, it will automatically populate that information for them, and it's one less step for that person to have to, for the choices that they have to make. And so it makes it a little bit more streamlined for your users. Otherwise, they'll choose their credit. And if you are interested in setting up different types of credits, please feel free to contact us at support, and we can get that new credit type set up for you. So as you see here in the tab 4, you choose the credit type, the credit hours. The provider is most often your own district. You do have the ability to enter credit comments. In some cases, you could make a note that in order to receive any clock hours to attend the entire offering, and then you can choose to auto-populate and save. Tab 5, or Section 5, this is the area where you can upload your materials, and there is no limit on the number of uploads you can have. But this gives the participant the ability to click on whatever document is attached, and it remains in their My Records forever. So if they lost it, they could go back, they could log into the account, go back into the system, go to My Records in the specific course, and they would be able to then click on the link because it stays in the course info page. Likewise, you can add links if you have YouTube videos that you want them to see, or if there's some portion of the course has them go to a site to complete part of the coursework, you would just simply add that course link information. So tab 7 is probably one of the most important tabs other than the first page, and this is where you enter the sessions. And if it's a single session course, you'd only add one session, and again, if it's multiple sessions, you have to add a minimum of 2 sessions to submit the course for review. Each session must have a date, and you would enter the sequence number, date, the time, the location, and then there's the seat count information, which I'll go into a little bit next slide or two so I don't get ahead of myself here. Then we have the ability to create conference courses, and this is the conference courses is where you would have breakout sessions at the same time. So you would have, say 4 or 5 sessions at 10 o'clock, and people would choose which session that they attend during that time frame. So to add a new session, click on the plus mark. You always need to have a sequence of 1 to begin with. This affects reports, and for some reason, many of our districts were having some difficulties with that, and so sequence 1 must always be there, otherwise your reports won't open. They would, of course, even show up when you go to print a roster. So always make sure that you have a sequence of 1. In the activity section, you can type any piece of information. It can say simply session 1, or it can be something that better describes what is occurring in that session. Then you have the date, the start time, end time. If it's an online course, you can indicate that by ticking the box. You can give a location, a room number, or a building, whatever. Then we have our minimum enrollment, and that can be any number you wish. It can be 0. But it is an indicator of the minimum number of people that you want to register in order to offer the course. Sometimes the course will be offered regardless whether it's 1 or 10 people enrolled. Seats available, and number of seats that the maximum number of seats that the course will accommodate, and then when you are creating the course, the seats remaining will be identical to the seats available. In the activity comments box, you can, this information comes forth in the course info report. So anything that the participants to know about, bring your laptop, bring a sack lunch, the agenda can be placed here. Many districts use this for the agenda requirement that OSPI has. And then if you want to make notes to your ProDev manager, there's a PD comments that is only visible to the ProDev manager. Your lead instructor will automatically propagate from page 1 of the course request, and then you have the ability to add additional instructors. Some districts have the equipment, comments, etc., in that box, in the following box. Then you save. Any questions on adding a session? Okay. So then if the request is a multi-session course, you'll need to add an additional session. So you can actually click Add New Session, or you have the ability to copy what you just entered, and then once you copy, you would then go in and edit it and make it sequence 2, to a different start and end date, or start and end time, a different date, whatever is different about that second session. Changes to seat, this is a biggie here. Changes to the seat count should never be made to a course from the Sessions tab once the course has a status of open. Seat count changes should always be made in course utilities. In many instances, because you have instructors creating the courses, they see that they've had a wait list, they kind of panic and they go directly to the course request, increase the seat count there, and save the course, and they're happy. They think everyone's going to be moved in. That's not how it works, and the only time that any changes should be made in the Sessions tab of the course request, directing information to actual. Sometimes it's easiest to contact support if you're going to course utilities and it's not resolving and not moving people. And that is a direct result of the seat counts being changed in the course request after people have been registered. So, and in many instances, I'll work with you, and some of our clients, they like to be very active and have me walk them through that process where they learn by going to the tables what the actual counts are and then adjusting them to actual in tab 7, and then going to course utilities and increasing the seat counts, and they see how that process works. So whatever you're most comfortable with, if you're having a problem with wait list and seat counts, just always to contact support, and we will be happy to fix it for you, teach you how to fix it on your own. And if you don't have a payment option within your district, the next step is submitting with the request. Once you submit that course request, the status changes from pending to review. An email goes out to someone in your pro department, and it lets them know that a course is waiting for approval. If you do have payments, there will be Section 8 or Tab 8, where you would add a registration type and a payment type. So you would click Add New Registration from the drop-down, and those are all set up in the tables. And then you would select fee or enter the fee, and then select the registration expiration date. Then you would save that and add the payment type, whether it's check, payroll deduction, whatever it may be. You would save that record, and then you would end up being in the same spot as the districts who don't charge fees, and you would submit the request. So then the PD manager or someone within the ProDev department would go in and review the course. And then you have the option of approving or denying. Sometimes it's easiest, rather than denying, it's easiest to leave it in the review status and email the instructor or the facilitator, and having them go in and fix anything that might need to be changed, or if you've had any questions, get those questions answered, and then they can resolve it, and then you can go ahead and approve it. So the different course statuses, course request automatically creates a pending status. Once the instructor or facilitator or whomever's creating the course submits that course, it then goes into the review status. You have the option as a PD manager to deny it, place it on hold, or open it. Then once has occurred and the instructor has gone in and verified the status and they mark grading complete, the status then automatically changes to grades in. After the course has been, after that occurs, and then the PD department verifies what the instructor, once they have the roster and they've verified, then they change the status to complete, and generally it's someone in the HR department receives an email that says the course is complete and ready for posting, and then someone in the HR department posts those credits and changes the status from complete to posted. Once a course has been posted and has that status, the reports are then, clock hour reports and transcripts are then available for participants to print their reports. So are there any questions on course status? And if additional information are participants can only register for a course if the status is open, and that includes using the Invite, Register, Cancel tool. The course status has to be changed to open. So, and then only courses with the status of complete will show up in the drop-down list under the Post Courses menu. So if you're looking for a course that you know is done and you want to post it, you want to go and check the status of the course from that course request page and make sure that it has a complete status. Then only courses with the status of complete or posted will show up on the transcript report, and only courses with the status of posted will show up for users to select under My Records and My Reports. Does that make sense? Any questions? So evaluations, they are not tied to course status. They are only tied to the due date. Instructors can verify attendance time after the course end date, and the PD managers can double-check their work and move the course to the complete status. However, you wouldn't want to post the course until the evaluation window has closed. Otherwise, what ends up happening is you have to go and basically repost that course and then pull out the records where the evaluation was completed after the date that you had previously posted it. So it's really important when you go to the posting page to make sure that evaluation window has already closed and there's no reason to have to repost it as a result of posting before that evaluation period is ended. So, and then finally, we have been working diligently on the Resources tab. And the first section is available for instructors, facilitators, and the PD manager. And they're a little bit different under each tab, but PD manager resources are your guides for creating the course request, for printing reports, using the Invite, Register, Cancel tool, the course utilities, working with your people to change passwords, et cetera. And we've also added guidance for clock hour providers. I believe that's the OSCI website. Understanding user, and all of are located on your site. Then we have working to add video resources, and one of the things, the newest, is recording of training webinars. And we have, rather than going to each site and adding a document or a link to each site, we've created a small website. And if you click on the link of recordings to training webinars, it'll take you to a website that has all of our webinars. So that eliminates a little bit of our work. We just go to that website, upload the recording, and then then it's available to you. We have some those that we have done, some specifically for specific districts, and so this may or may not be it may have more videos than is reflected on this slide. And then finally, for ProDev, we do have a merge request form, and if you do have the jobs portal or the employee records portal, we do ask for that you interface with them because it becomes a little more complicated to merge accounts with those records, and there are some requirements for printing out or saving in electronic form the applications. But that is, clicking on that link will take you to the Google form for you to fill out a merge request, and if you're ProDev only, we try to get that done as quickly as possible. And that concludes this presentation. I'm sorry I wasn't more prepared for it and wasn't as smooth as it could be. But if you have any questions, now's the time to ask. And if you have any specifics directly related to your district, you can certainly feel free to stay on the line, and I will work with you to answer your questions.